Oh, that was quick.
You froze. Okay, there you go.
Nah, I ain't froze.
There you go. I got you.
All right, here we go. Let's get to the joint. All right, here we go. It's this one. All right, all right. Here's another edition of the world renowned Amsterdam Talk. I know this is your first time. I'm with author Marcus Dwayne on the show today. But
Yes.
before I normally start the show, I always gotta say something that I probably done this week, just to let the folks know that I'm still in touch with the people. So today I went Christmas shopping for my niece and nephews. And I didn't realize they love expensive shit until I started putting it in my cart. And then I had to realize off top was like, I ain't your goddamn father or your mother. Like, why are you asking me this for this? Like, why you asking? Whatever happened to your aunt? You throw me a couple dollars, throw me $40, $50 and call it a day, $100. Y'all asking for stuff like Yeezys and PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X. I don't have a problem buying the games. The games are fine, but when you start asking me buy out of pocket stuff like $400 or $500, I think my nephew asked me for some Giuseppe's, and I'm like, that's $800. And my next text to him was getting ready to be like, bro, I don't even like you like that. Like, but that's what wound up happening today for me. So all the parents out there that's watching Amsterdam Talk today, be decisive and do not go broke trying to show off for your children. And that is the wave I'm going tonight with it. So other than that, I got world renowned author right now, Marcus Dwayne, in the building tonight. How you doing,
Well,
sir?
I'm doing extremely well this
Well, welcome to Amsterdam Talk. So,
evening. I'm
you're an
happy to be here
author.
today. This evening,
Yeah, you're an
yes,
author.
I
And
am.
before we get into Black Sperm, the book, tell
You're
us a little bit
right.
about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, let's start here. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Uh, After being there 18 years, I decided to go to college. I went to a college called Grambling State University.
A college called Graham. We all know we all went to HBCU. We
Yeah,
know Graham, the
Grambling
Graham fam in the building.
State University, right there. And finally graduated. I joined a wonderful fraternity called Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, and the rest is
Okay.
history. So I graduated. Decided 2 years after I graduated that I didn't want corporate America. And
Okay.
a lot of my friends, I was somewhat a small writer, writing in the music industry, but no one would hear my song, so I never got any credit. I got frustrated with the after 5 years, Haiti is trying to write songs for people. I started to write stories. Then when I
Nope.
wrote a story, a good friend of mine named Timothy Patterson, he was like, "Man, this should be a book," and that was my first book called Mama Best. So I wrote the book. I toured about 2 years. I was an independent, by myself, own my own company. Went out on the road for 2 years. Then I wrote another book. And then the next book was called It Had to Happen. That that right there really set me up because it was a book about 13 of the richest black men in the world that got together, and they got together with the top world gang leaders, and they put themselves together to fight black on black crime. I wrote that 10 years ago.
Okay.
After that,
All right. So no. We want to go back. I want to go back. You said you was in the music industry, so you got songs like any notable songs that we should know.
let's say I was tip tapping and so nope. I said I was writing songs. It was a system where you can write, but you have to make the cut. You didn't get on the album, nobody know who you are. So I was writing, I was frustrated that no one could hear the lyrics as a lyricist, no one could hear me. So I got frustrated and I decided to say, well, a song is nothing but a story. Let me write the story. So I extended on the story. And then all of a sudden my brother came and said, man, you got a book. And that was the first book I wrote that went on the bestseller list, a regional bestseller called Mama Best. And when I wrote that book, that's when I knew that this is it. This is my life. This is what I was going to do. I toured for about
Okay.
2 years with that, wrote another book, and
No,
then
and
I
I
wrote
was going
another
to.
book. I toured.
No, I don't mean to
I'm
cut
sorry.
you off, but I was saying, writing songs, there's a lot of money in ASCAP.
Yeah, but let's put it like this. That wasn't for me. I got a passion from writing, and I said, well, let me write these lyrics. But I didn't realize when you write lyrics, you got to be on the song. You have to go on the album. I could never go to that next level. So my
No, no,
frustration,
no. Your ASCAP, you writing ASCAP, so you getting your song purchased by a person to sing it. So I mean, you just get writer's credit, ASCAP credit. There's a lot more
again,
ASCAP money than performing.
at 24, 25, 26, my mind wasn't there. So that led me to what? In other words, I didn't go educate myself on how what you're saying there to happen. I decided to just write a story. That's what I said, you know what? Writing novels and writing books are more interesting to me. So I left that part alone.
Okay, so before we get to Black Sperm, in Black Sperm, it says that you have multiple books that you wrote before Black Sperm.
You froze.
No, I said it
Oh
before
yeah.
Black.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have multiple books that you wrote before Black Sperm. So, what books that have you wrote? I know you
Yes.
said "Mama Does Best" or something in that nature. I think that's
No,
what you
it's
said in the
the
book.
book is the book. The first book I wrote was called Mama Best.
Oh, Mama's Best. Okay, Mama's Best.
Mama Best. Yeah,
Mama
Mama
Best.
Best. Yeah, that was a
Okay.
book that I wrote that for 2 years I would work on that book. And they was like, wow, that was an interesting story. It was a story. That story was about a sister telling her story that her mother and dad got killed the day she was born because she was given to her grandmother because they killed her mother and father because one was black, one was white. So they gave it to the lady called Mama Bess. So the lady was a high yellow woman growing up in the 60s. So I wrote her story, and that right there got me off the mark. And then I wrote the second story 2 years after that called It Had to Happen. And that was a
Okay.
story about the wealthiest black men in the world that got together to figure out what they had to do to stop black on black crime. And
Okay.
then there was a third book. The third book was the book that got me kicked out of church. And that's
How'd you get kicked out of third? How would you get kicked out of church? Out of God's
so
place? How you
think
get
think
out of
about
church?
this now. So think about this. When I was coming out, the people that would send for me around the country was churches. They were like,
Okay.
oh, this young brother. They would send me up. I would be a public speaker. They would pay me. I would sell my books. So I wrote
Okay.
this after the second book. The third book, I wrote it. I always sent it out to everyone. And when I sent it out, I got no response. And then I
Okay.
finally called the minister. I said, hey, well, you're not going to book me this year? I said, Marcus, you went too risky. You wrote a book that people, I don't want this in my church. And I said,
Mm.
well, it's a story about a minister. But the title of the book got people scared of me. I wrote a book called How to Eat It the Right Way.
You wrote a book
And
called
it was a
"How to Eat It
story
the Right Way."
about this brother. Yeah, I wrote the
Okay.
book. But when I wrote that book, no one would book me, and then that's when I went ahead and developed a show called Through My Eyes, which is 5 angry black men that get touched by God. So I went around the country promoting that show, and then I did well, and because no one would book me for because of how to eat it the right way. I said, man, I'm never going to go out here. I'm just going to write for other people. It was just a mentality that I had. I was making decent money. I was making a living. And I would sit back and someone say, man, help me out with the story. I say, pay me for the story. So I was more ghostwriting after that. But then it leads up to today, to the pandemic. When the pandemic happened, I lost my job. And I never forgot the lady before I lost my job. She saw 3 books that I wrote. And she said, man, you're a good writer. I said, that was 10 years ago. She said, no, you're a great writer. You should write books. I went home and talked to my son, and he was telling me about growing up where we grew up at. He was like, Dad, it's crazy out there. You know, white women, uh, Asian women, Hispanic women, Mexican, whatever, they're coming after us. This was like 10 years ago. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, I think it's my seed or my sperm. I don't know what it is. And that triggered the nerve, like, okay, black sperm. Okay, that's when I started doing my research and make a creative way to show the power of the black sperm. And
Okay,
that,
but before we get into the black sperm, I want to know about this eat it the right way situation. So, what are we talking about eating? What
say
are we
that again.
talking about? I said, I want to know about this eat it the right way. What are we
Yeah.
talking about?
All
What are
right,
we
all right,
talking
all right.
about?
Here's the thing. It's a story about well, attorney, a black sister. She's trying to look for this guy who's was a minister. He was a virgin minister, but he ended up in prison. And the method, the theory of the book is to end up how to eat it the right way, and it's about the vagina. Let's call it what it is. It is about the vagina. I wrote it boldly out there like it. It was a story about how the man found out how to do it the right way. He went to sex therapy and said, I need to figure out how to please my sister. What do I need to do? So he would go and go to training. So he ended up opening up a store, like women go get their nails done, get their hair done. He opened a store called The Right Way. And he opened up the store and
Mm-hmm.
he had all these people coming in, but women would come in there to sit down and say, man, I need to get it done the right way. The man was named Big Friendly. So Big Friendly had this store and people would come all over the country, but Big Friendly ended up in prison. And he been in prison because he did something to this lady that she ended up having a heart attack. And it was that
So,
was the end of the book of how
so I had to ask this. So, like you when you wrote this book, was there any
prison,
research?
yeah.
Yeah, was there any
Absolutely.
research done by you to how to eat it the right
Yeah,
way?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, yes.
So
It was
I
about
guess
2 years of research.
two. So okay, so was this just research? Was this research just asking, or was this actually hands-on research that you done? Like, did you actually put yourself in this position to learn how to eat it the right way, as you're saying the name of the book is, to put this
Let
in a
me just
story
share
form?
this with you. Let me share this with you. I was married for 31 years to one lady.
Okay.
I never uh, had another lady in my life. For 31 years, I was married to the lady that I was with. However, we're divorced now.
Mm-hmm.
So been divorced for 2 years. So me disclosing if I participated back in the day like that, I can't say that I did. It was a story. I was a creator.
Oh, so you created a
I
story.
think
I
I answered
mean,
your question.
I'm just saying you answered the question partially. So I'm just saying, like, to eat it the right way, it gotta be to the point where it's like a multiple
Researched.
magnitude. Yeah, research. It gotta be research to find through some other
Yeah.
brothers or some other female sisters to tell you this is what they want done. But hands on, you said you was married to a lady. Maybe this came from your gambling career. I don't know. And my show base has a lot of women that watch, and they want to know,
Right.
like, what's the tricks of the trade of this to get it done correctly. And my brothers out
Right.
there that watch the show, maybe like,
Let me just
okay,
say this
so
here.
okay, I'm
Let's say
listening.
this here. That book there took me skyrocket because it was entertaining. It's a story. It's a fictional novel. However, people are like, "Man, you tripped me out in that book." I'm a thought-provoking writer, so I write about things that people think about but afraid to. When I wrote that book, people are like, oh, "You went to the left," and that's why I believe now the churches we hear because I wrote it that this guy was a minister who did this, who was a virgin, had all these different variables. So I was just one idea out there, and it worked. It worked. A lot of people enjoyed that book, but that was my last book. That was my last one. And
So
from that point
the
on, I
past
hadn't
the
written anything for
hold
3
on,
years.
hold on. To eat it right. Hold on. Let's get back to eat it right. Before we get into black sperm, because I got a lot of questions about black sperm. But to eat it right,
Okay.
the pastor was a virgin.
The pastor, okay. The story, the narrator, the main character of the story is this guy, Friendly. Big Friendly minister, but everybody loved him because they called him Big Friendly. He graduated from college. He actually went to Grambling. He graduated from college, and all of a sudden he got himself taken care of, but he was always concerned or wonder how the human anatomy worked. How does the women, and a lady, a sex therapist he went to see said, well, you got to learn that a woman, you got to learn this. And he went to class with her. She was teaching that if you do this to a woman, this will happen. If you do this to a, so he was learning the whole thing. So as he mastered the art of making a woman satisfying a woman, we call it eating the right way, where how they want to call it. But after he done that, he became a superstar of doing it. And then that's where the story starts. I go through all that, but through the story, it's about him satisfying a woman the right way.
So he went to a sex therapist and she taught him I guess verbally how to eat it the right way. Where there was no physical form that she showed him how to do it. I'm just saying, I got to fill in the blanks right here.
I
My
like you, brother,
viewers,
because you're depth.
my
I'm
viewers
giving away the
like to
story.
see.
You're on point because this you're on point because I don't want to give that story away, but the sex therapist eventually he got so good at because she was training him. And got so
Okay,
great at it. And then she like, oh, you got it. And then she said, you graduated. And then that's when he opened up his store. He opened his store just like, I need to get my nails done. So women would come in and like, he have 3 or 4 clients a day. And it was an interesting piece that I wrote. And I think that that book got me to believing in myself that I could be a writer, a creative writer.
all right. So we're gonna dive into black sperm, but before we dive into black sperm, um, where can the readers pick up this last book we was talking about, how to eat the right way? Where can we pick this up at?
That is going to be redone January the 15th. It's not even out. I
I thought it
mean,
was out already.
I got it's been out for 10 years.
Where can we get it from?
This is it right here. I have the book, but I'm coming back out as a creative writer, and all the books that I have are all
So they
coming back out in January. So my new introduction to myself to the market is Black Sperm, but then they're gonna find out that Marcus done wrote 15 books. I done wrote a lot of stuff, and that stuff that people never saw is about to come out starting in
okay,
January.
so I just want to make sure, I don't want none of my nieces or nephews to pick this up at Barnes and Nobles because they young kids, or when Scholastic come to the school. We
You're
just
right,
trying to figure out
right,
where
right,
the hell
right.
this book is being made, because it has me, like, my brain cells are working like, damn, he wrote a book on this, like how to eat it right. Like, I've never had any complaints,
Yeah.
but shit, if it's a proper way. I mean, if Dr. Sue Johnson didn't write it, Marcus Dwayne wrote it. So here we go. Let's go. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with Dr. Sue Johnson on Oxygen. Before
No,
we
I'm
get in
not.
black,
No, I'm not.
but well, Dr. Sue Johnson, she has a show on Oxygen that comes on like 12 a.m. on Sunday nights, and she talks about a whole bunch of sex things. So I think you should look her up. Y'all could possibly link up and do something together. But before we get
Wow.
into
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
before we get into black sperm, you told my producer Ava that that you were homeless or whatever.
Okay. Let's go there.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
Yeah. You're 100% right. I am what they call the homeless writer. Now, how did all that get together? How did I become what I mean by that? I'm living in a hotel. I've been living in a hotel for 6 weeks. Why and how did I become a writer? How how did I become the writer that became homeless? What happened was the pandemic hit. I started saying, forget it. I lost the job, started working on my craft. By the time the book got finished, the company where I lived at in Addison, Texas, the apartment building was bought out by another company. And the law passed through Congress where they could evict people. All of a sudden, people came knocking on my door, said, hey, you gotta go. I got all my stuff that I needed in my car. I said, you know what, man, I'm in the middle of releasing my book, The Black Sperm. I'm just gonna buy a hotel for a few weeks. I'll be smart. Let me go to Walmart. Let me get some groceries. I'm gonna be here. I go and have a car accident. Total my car. I'm in the middle of the street. And just imagine this. You're driving down the road. You see a guy with boxes and suitcases, and he's just sitting there. That was me. I was out there like that. And I was like, man, I'm trying to get my book out now. I'm homeless. Homeless to me is not I'm under the bridge. I'm out there begging. No, that's not it. It's like I'm homeless. I don't have a place to say this is my home. I can go in. This is no. I live week by week through a hotel, and that was because what happened.
Okay.
It just wiped me clean off the mark, but I thank God for it. That was a good journey. I thank him because it was necessary for me to go through it to get to where he has in store for me.
Okay, because I was confused. I said, okay, well, but your backstory was that you were a professor at one time, right? You taught?
No, never was a professor. No.
Okay, all right.
Nope.
Okay. That I must be confused with my next guest. But okay, so so you've been home, you said you're the homeless writer, you've been living in this hotel. This has nothing to do with your divorce, anything like that, does it?
Say that last.
This has nothing to do with your divorce,
Say that
does it?
one more time.
This has nothing to do with your divorce,
No,
do it?
I've been divorced for two. I've been divorced for 2 years. I moved to a place, had an apartment, doing my thing on my own. The pandemic hit. I lost the job that I was working. So at that moment, when God said, man, come on, I need this story for you to write. And that was The Black Sperm. And I started writing it. As October, November came, that's when the apartment complex said, hey, we're going to evict everyone out, go to take a sport, whatever. That's the day that I said, the day I'm trying to release my book is the day I become homeless. That means I didn't have no place to go. And two things happened to me, in which I learned from God, was that I was a very prideful man. Pride killed me. I didn't realize pride is one of the deadliest sins. And pride is one of the things out of my frat. I got it. How you doing, Mark? I'm doing good. And I wasn't at the point to where I couldn't open up. And so God said, look, if you don't come out and tell the story, the truth of your story, you're going to drown. And so I was in that position that, from now on, that pride shit, I just didn't, it was necessary.
Well, pride definitely is.
For me to go through that to see how great God was and his purpose and how not to use pride for anything.
Well, pride is definitely number one killer, because everybody needs somebody. But at the end of the day, it's basically between with you and the big man, between your conversation with God, what has to happen, at the end of the day. So he done brought you to this point that you're sitting here with me. And now we're going to,
yes.
I didn't read the book. So now I need you to break this book down because we're going to get into Black Sperm. So at about 9:50, at the 9:50 fans that are watching, we want you to chime in with your questions because we're going to get into Black Sperm. So basically, first page, when I'm looking at it, it says the next day I woke up and thought of many different plans to get out of this mental institution. Who's in this mental institution in the Black Sperm?
Okay. So I'm going to take you on a journey. Whoever gets the book, they're going to read it. I'm going to start you off in a journey. I'm going to tell you what's about to happen, but you're not going to figure out what's happening.
No. You don't have to. No, we don't need you to take me on a journey.
And so for me to say who's in there, I'm telling the whole.
No, I don't need you to take me on a journey. I just got specific things that's already outlined. I just need you to clarify for my viewers, and my viewers are going to come purchase this book. They're going to purchase this book.
Right.
So,
Okay.
like I
So the
just
question,
go
repeat
ahead.
your question again. So
So the opening line of the
no, I said,
story
repeat
says,
the question again.
no, I am, but the opening line of the Black Sperm book states, the next day I woke up and thought of many different plans to get out of this mental institution. That's the first line in the
Okay.
book. So the very first line of the book, there's somebody in this mental institution. So, I mean, is this a true story? Is this fiction or nonfiction?
It is titled as a fictional novel. From a creative side of it's true. I researched, I had to change the name to protect the innocents and guilty and just create the story. So and a lot of people, that's the first question that everyone asks me, is this true? All the things that I'm talking about, the Black Sperm, that's the number one question I receive from everyone. Is it
Okay.
true? To me, yes, it's true in the sense that I believe in what I wrote. However, it's categorized as a fictional novel.
Okay, so somebody woke up in an institution, and then we go to page 6, and it quotes
Mhm.
that you wrote. That was the reason I left the CDC 60 years ago, because I knew that black sperm is the cure to all. It's the cure for all diseases. So
Right.
somebody inside the CDC that worked for 60 years gave you this, or did you just gave you this information, or did you just make this up?
I Let me say this here. A lot of my brothers that really talk to me, they say, man, you just create, you come up with these ideas. I say, I do a little homework, but then I just create the story behind it. So the lady that's narrating that part of the book,
Mm-hmm.
she's another character in the book. Her name is Josephine.
Mm-hmm. I got that.
That's Josephine telling that, and the lady before that was Jezebel. And so Jezebel is she's the sister
Okay.
that actually went to Groundling, went to Harvard. She worked at the CDC.
Okay.
So while she was working there, she went through the archives and found out that there was research done on the black man's sperm in 1944. Then she
Okay.
exposed, and as the story goes, where a police officer, a sergeant,
Well,
in
we ain't gotta go that far. We ain't gotta
1944,
go that. We ain't
his
gotta go that far.
mother.
Yeah, we ain't gotta
Okay,
go
okay,
that far. We gotta go that far because I got my
okay,
notes. I got my notes. So yeah, I don't want you to give the whole story away, because I want people to
okay,
buy
okay,
this book, because this shit was interesting. I don't mean to
okay.
call it shit, but this was interesting. It blew my mind like to the right. I was like, what in the world is going on in this book? So okay. So here we go on page
Right.
13. It said, she wanted to find a trusted creative writer, and she mentioned you, Marcus Dwayne, one of the greatest writers in the world. I knew him because he was the author of the book Mama Best, About My Sister. He also has several books, It Had to Happen, and How to Eat It the Right Way, to name a few. So basically, but I get that line right there, said you,
Right.
Marcus Dwayne, that you wrote a book, Mama's Best, based on this lady's sister. So I'm getting
Yep.
from already that these people are close to you, that you know these folks. Is there any truth
In
in that?
spirit, yes. A lot of it is. A name's been changed to protect the innocent and guilty. I have to say that I can't put the name of that, oh, that's the person right here, right there. No.
Okay, so you know that you've got this story from somebody that really did work from the seat. We're not putting no names out there. We don't do that on the show. That
Right,
some
right,
people that
right.
really worked at the CDC, the Central Disease Control, actually told you this. And the book that you
Mhm.
wrote, Mama's Best, was based on her sister. So that correlates the two.
I connected all three books in that whole fourth book. It's kind of weird, but all my writing, the characters somehow jumps into to the next book. And that's just the difference about me, the way I write. So you would find that if you read this book, you would find like, oh my God, I need to go find how to eat the right way, because being friendly is in this book. Oh, I need to go find this because that person is in this book. So I connected all these different books I wrote into one book.
Okay. All right.
And
Okay. So
I
now,
narrated to where I wrote it. Yeah.
okay. So you narrated this. So now this is the part where I was like, I got sidetracked. I'm like, hold on, who is he talking about? So is this you? Because it's saying on page 16, I was working out of Dallas Fort Worth office, and for the last 5 years, my primary responsibility was to set up a program that would help law officers work toward harmony within the Black community. Was that what you was doing?
No, that's not me. That's her. That's the lady talking.
Okay.
She's describing herself, what she was really doing in Dallas.
Okay. This book is okay. I get you now. So okay, I get that part. All right. So now this is where we go to page 21 in this book, where it talks about, when the first time she was introduced into the Black Sperm, and what you write in your book, Black Sperm, she was the one that introduced me to the Black Sperm, but I have to give her all of the credit for guiding me on the path of righteousness to be able to scientifically explain the power of the Black Sperm. There are many opposing parties involved that don't want Black men to know about the power of the Black Sperm. This has been a secret that only a few people know about. Throughout my testing and research, I realized that Black men have the seed in them that can change people's thoughts about them. So, where does this research come about? I mean, you're a Black man, I'm a Black man, my viewers are Black men. So where did you get that we have this? I mean, I know we're powerful. I get that. We
Right.
are rich and endowed. We are very powerful
Right.
men. We built this damn country that we stand on. But you bring to the table that this sperm, as quote Method Man and the MATHOD man, he talks about super sperm. So now you bring in a Black Sperm is super sperm. So where does this come from?
Let's just say here, I'm very creative. I thank God for my creativity. When I thought my son said, you know what, Dad, we was like 16 years old. Dad, I think they're coming after me because of my seed and my sperm, all these white women. And I thought about it, I said, man, what
Well, that's
is
in
it
the
that
book. That's in the
powerful?
book.
He's a young
That's in
cat.
the book.
Yeah. So when I say, is it true? It could be true. It's fictional to me, but it's real true because I wrote it, how I saw it. Uh, did I do research where people dip me some information? Yes. Is it?
I mean,
Hey, yeah, man. I see. Let me give you one example. In the early 1970s, right after Aretha Franklin did Respect, a lot of women, white women, started going to discos and trying to get to Black men because they felt that their sperm could get the pimples off their face. They felt their sperm could do a lot more to them. They started learning about it. And I found out through research that in 1970, 69 to 1970, China tried to negotiate the Black men out of prison to,
well,
to build.
I
To
got
build.
all that in the book. I have all that in the book. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that,
So
Marcus. We're gonna get to that. We definitely gonna get to that. But I'm just trying to get right here, whereas though you on that same page, on page 21, our government does not want the Black man to know how powerful he is, which I believe that's true. But you talk about systematic platforms about sperm. I understand the government don't want us to know how powerful we are, our kings and
right,
queens are, the Black
right,
men and the Black women are, but you breaking it down on systematic platforms about sperm. So I'm like, okay, why is
yeah.
this sperm so powerful? So that's what I'm trying to get to in
The
my thought.
question: why is it so powerful?
Right. I have many footnotes,
The
so
question is,
I'm
you
listening
asking
to
why it's
you.
so powerful because it is what it is. It is what it is. Black man sperm is very powerful. It has been powerful for many years. I just wrote a story about it. Now, where the other person down said, "What do you mean, black man sperm? Yeah, it's powerful. You just don't know it can cure a lot of different things." But they try to suppress that. They try to, well, why should we bring that out? Well, why not bring it out? Why not
Well,
give a story about it?
don't give it away because I got more questions for that too. But here we go on page 26
Okay,
right now.
okay, okay.
When
All
we
right.
talk about, you said
Mhm.
on page 26 in your book, The Black Sperm, the first fly, I'm thinking it still is Josephine. This is Josephine still talking through her story.
Okay.
The first
Mhm.
floppy disk that Josephine gave me was titled The Super Crabs. I just thought, that's an STD. I didn't know that crabs come in degrees. It was like low,
Yeah.
mild, or super. I didn't know. Like, what the hell is super? Not cussing, but what are
Okay,
super
now let me
crabs?
part of what you didn't read. So let's go backwards a little bit. The
Okay,
lady
we can
that's
go
narrating
backwards.
this, or okay,
Mhm.
the
She got.
backwards so you
She was
understand
in. She
what
was.
she's talking about.
She had sex in the back of an SUV. I understand that, and she got super crabs.
Okay. So the lady that's narrating Josephine, she's like the ghost who's telling her, hey, she's trying to tell Jezebel about how powerful the black sperm. And both of these people are scientists. These black women are
Okay.
scientists. They work for CDC. Josephine quit the CDC. Now she's giving the information down to Jezebel, and she gave Jezebel these discs. Here, I got evidence to prove to you how bad and how strong the black man's sperm was. And the incident
Oh,
you're talking about was the super crowds came out. When the super crowds came out, it was a huge where people had crabs back in the day, but these was called super crabs. They get on you and this or here, and then lady Josephine found that the black man's sperm by accident could cure the super crabs. And so what
so
happened in the early, just for World War II, when the black, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. I'm just saying, I know we're gonna get back into
Oh,
this
okay.
Tuskegee. I know we're gonna get back into this ski experiment and all that. We're gonna get in that, we're gonna get a Henrietta Lacks and all that. We're gonna get into that. But I'm just saying, super crabs, what happened to a
Right,
little
right.
shaving and a calamine lotion? I mean, I'm not understanding that, black sperm to put on in your pubic area to cure these
Well,
crabs. I mean, shaving and calamine lotion.
right. Well,
I'm
I
just
understand
asking.
that, but what the lady is narrating in the book, the scientist is talking about a incident that happened what we call the super crab, and the super crabs was crabs that they couldn't get rid of, but they found a solution to the super crab. It was all in the black man's sperm.
Okay,
Everything
all right.
comes back to the black man's sperm could cure all these type of diseases. And she gave an example of the first floppy disk was, look at this. I got evidence that how they cured all these white men. They killed all these white men that had the super crowd at the time.
Okay. All right. So now we go. Okay, you got that. So now we go to page 27 where you state, now don't forget about this was in the early 1900s, and no black man could ever been seen with a white female, but Bishop Warren was my chauffeur and my secret boyfriend that no one knew about for years. Ironically, his sperm helped me discover a cure for super crabs. So this is the white lady speaking now about super crabs and her Bishop Warren. I don't know if his first name Bishop or he's in the pastor of a church. He was in some type of congregation, and
Right.
he was a chauffeur, and he
He's a
did what he had
chauffeur.
to do to cure
Yeah.
this woman's super crabs. Like I'm my head is still puzzled around these extraordinary crabs. Like I I mean, I've never seen a crab before in my life. I mean, I've never had crabs in my life, but I'm just saying, like, for people that do have crabs, like, how do they get super? That's what we trying to figure out right here.
Again, that was a story that I wrote inside the book about what happened in the early 30s and 40s of where they had this around the country. There was something called the super crabs going around where they were getting it. They didn't know how to cure. They went to the CDC. CDC came, hey, we found out the cure. Well, what they found out is that the black man's sperm was able to go in and cure what? Cure it all.
So
And
so
that was
he
the whole
shot it.
thing about how powerful.
He shot it. He shot the
I can't
sperm
hear you.
in her, and he shot the sperm in her, and it cured the clap. He shot it in her or on her.
No. Okay, eventually what they find
No, no, no.
out about
I get.
the
I know the mixture.
black
I know the
man's,
mixture, but I'm asking. I'm
it
asking
wasn't
right now
shooting it
about
up
the
yet.
crabs. I know about the
Right.
mixture because I mean I've read the story, but you know I'm gonna bypass that and go to what we get ready to talk about. So you said in my lab I mixed a sample of Bishop Worm's sperm with a C positive, a D positive, sap of herbal oils, and discovered that the mixture killed crabs and would no longer harm the human body. So C positive and D positive with herbal oils killed the crabs.
But 75% of that, what I talked about, was the power of the sperm mixed with all these different ingredients killed the crabs.
Well, it didn't say the sperm in the joint. I mean, in the book, it just said they mixed the C positive, the D positive, and herbal oils. So I'm like, all right. So now I'm not a biologist nor a scientist, so I don't know. I do public administration. I don't know. I didn't know that there's a type of
Right.
sperm like there's a C positive or D positive sperm. Is that really true? Is it that type of sperms? Like there's actual a grade A or grade B or grade C? What I'm not sure.
Here's what I'm not gonna do. Here's what I can't do, and I will not do this. As a creative writer, I have imagination.
Okay. All
I
right.
put
So this
the
is your
imagination
imagination.
to create the
I thought we were talking,
story.
a
There's
little
no
nonfiction.
documentation. There's no this, because that's why it's strictly a nonfiction characters, nonfiction this, only because I it's a thought provoking, because I want the reader to read it to come back and say, oh my God, could it be true? Who knows? In my eyes, it's true, but it's still
Okay.
considered as a fictional novel.
Okay. Well, oh, okay, I understand. Okay, now this is coming. Now is enlightening me a little more now because it's coming through your imagination. I thought this is what's really going on, but
Yeah,
now we
real.
go
Yeah.
to page 30. And I want all my women listeners to listen to this on page 30. All my women out there, listen to this. If you look back in the times during the late 60s, this page 30, if you look back in the time during the late 60s and 70s, white women were going after the black man at a ridiculous rate. The white women learned that there was something about the black man she could not do without. It was known that by allowing a black man to come all over her face, it allowed the white woman to clean her pimples, tighten her skin, and provide nourishment for her healthy skin and hair growth. Tell me about that then. For me to come over a woman, well, white
I
woman,
got it.
whatever, black woman, you gonna have to elaborate on this. That is gonna make her skin, because they say black don't crack. So, to come over a white woman or Asian woman, Latino woman, any woman is going to nourish her skin and nourish her hair. Is is this
Okay.
scientific fact?
Again, as a creator, I have to say everything in the book is true to me. I just created to be uh, uh, on the edge, like, whoa, what if this is really true? I just created that way. I can't sit here and
Okay.
say there's documentation, there's this right here, is that true? I got that story. I got that story, that little piece of a story where white women were coming out to black men from my brother. My brother is I'm from a family of 13. I'm the youngest of 13. I used to see my
Okay.
brother and they would brag, my uncles would brag about how crazy the white women were in the 70s. And I was a young boy. I'm like, what is this all about? And so that little piece of a story I grabbed from my family, my brothers, and they would tell me these crazy stories about white women. I said, okay, one day I'm gonna end up using that story, and that's how I created that part of the story.
Okay. All right. So you use that with your brother. So now this is where, when I read this, I'm like, you stepped in my realm a little bit right here. Being a public administrator, on page 32, you stated when President Bill Clinton signed the bill, you didn't put Bill in, but you said when President Clinton signed the bill, 3 strikes you're out. The wall made sure they would get the black sperm that they needed and the wealth that came behind it. So you're basically saying a 3 strikes you're out bill, when they put minorities and people of color in jail, this was the way to get the sperm out of us.
Yeah, I wrote it that
Now,
way. It was a creative way of writing it. How would society keep going on? And when the black man's sperm was curing all these different diseases, but only a few people knew about it, so they start incarcerating them. Well, when you get incarcerated and you do a murder, do something, you got 20 years. Hey, we'll give you 10 years off if you give me your sperm. So I create the story that a lot of black men was coming out of prison at an earlier time frame because they were willing to give up their sperm in the story that I wrote.
well, in the story you wrote, I disagree about that because that, the RICO law and everything before 1988, you only had to do a certain percentage of your time. So when I read that, I said, well, I got to disagree about that because before 1988, you only do a percentage of your time to come home. So if you're telling me like they put you behind bars for sperm, like, nah, that's crazy. I just can't
Let's
believe
go
that. I
back to
understand.
that thought. You just imagine what you just said there, where me as a writer, I just created that. I didn't say it was the facts that that's what happened. I just gave an example how they were getting our sperm. So I'm in agreement with you. This it's a fictional novel, but 90% of people read the book,
Okay.
they come back and say, "Man, this got to be true. This got to be true. What did you do? How'd you come up with this?" It's true, but the names have changed to protect the innocent and guilty. And I made a creative
Okay.
way
Okay.
to get the information now versus saying, this is the facts. Go look up this. This is how it happened. I made a story behind it. What you
Okay.
doing there, man? What's that?
Oh, that's the sponsor. Don't worry about what I'm doing. This is the sponsor. The sponsor give me what I need to eat. The sponsor tell me, listen, do you know I gotta present that I drink this a little bit, every now and then, but this is not about what I do. This is about what you've
Right,
done. So
right.
next on the same page, on the next paragraph for my holy rollers, you wrote, if you go through the Bible, you'll read that most men live to be about 200 to 300 years old. For example, Adam lived to be 935 years old before he passed away. Why is that? The facts are that God did not make man to live on earth and die of diseases. Now, half of me agree with you because I say, a lot of this shit is man, excuse my language, but a lot of this is man-made diseases, AIDS, uh, cancer, lupus,
Yeah,
polio,
right,
COVID,
right,
I
right,
believe that. But the other
right,
half of me, I'm like, uh, Adam lived 935 years.
right.
I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure on that. So where's the
Okay.
fact that about that? But
It's
I'm
no,
gonna
it's
get.
no. I would say this
Oh, go
here:
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
the easiest way to look at most of it, because being a creative writer, you just write from a creative side, from a truthful way you saw it. But that does not necessarily mean that it's a true statement and read in stone. This is the truth. No, it's the creative story.
Okay, all right. So I give you that. All right. So now we come to page 39, the Asian invasion, which you stated. The Asian invasion, I skipped a couple lines. The wall suspected that if the Asian culture knew that the black man's sperm had the ingredients to cure cancer, then black men in America would be auctioned off to the highest bidder. So now you bring it back to slavery in a different way, whereas though there are 2 billion Asian people in the world and they're willing to pay whatever price it is to get help. So basically, you're saying that the black man and his black sperm will be auctioned off to China, to over in Asia, I should say Asia, the continent of Asia. So we come from Africa, we've been settled down in Jamestown, North America, in Virginia, 13 colonies. You know, the Civil War didn't happen in America. So now you're saying on this point is that Negroes are getting ready to be sold to Asia, into the China realm. All right. Okay. That all right.
Through the idea out there, yes. Yeah.
So you okay. So now we're gonna go through the idea out there, which I think that's crazy, but this is your story. This is your story. This is how you wrote it. I'm just trying to get my key point, my notes out. So then we jump to Flash Drive 5. Flash Drive 5. And so you say you must understand that black men's sperm is the most potent ingredients that gives life to everything. Now there are other ingredients you must add to the sperm, but 70% of the cure is with the sperm. So these is like things you got to cook in the pot. That, you know, this is what's like now. This is where this is where you said you got to cook in a pot. This is where you got to put it together in a pot. And so on page 44, you said, first you must have all 13 ingredients, which you can find at any Whole Foods. The most important ingredient is finding an American black man who is willing to give you his sperm. You will need about a cupful. This man must be about 35 to 55 years of age. Then you must freeze the sperm for at least 24 hours until it's rock hard. You must put the 12 ingredients in the blender to make sure all the chemicals are bonded. After that, you must put the sperm and chemicals together and freeze them for 24 hours. The whole process will take about 7 days to complete. After the week has passed, you must unthaw the liquid and put it in a syringe and inject it into the body. So what I didn't get from, what are the other 12 ingredients? It's 13 ingredients. What are the other 12 ingredients? Because I couldn't find it in the book.
Right. I on that piece right there that you read, I was just giving a dialogue about, look, once you get the black man sperm, you got these other 12, 13 ingredients, that other ingredient was not disclosed in the book.
Okay. It was not enclosed in the book. Okay, I got you.
It just says other ingredients.
No, go ahead, talk. Go ahead, talk. You got the floor. I'm listening.
No, no. I'm listening to you. I'm ready for the
okay.
questions.
Okay. So then we go to page 53. That fucked my mind all up. So they charging hold up. My viewers, you know I keep it honest with y'all. So they said on page 53, you said I charge $113,000 per cup of sperm. $113,000 per cup of sperm. In order to get the sperm, the patient must lick my balls for at least 5 minutes.
La. You don't want to tell everything.
I'm just saying. I saw it. 113,000. You know, I'm gonna cut what you said, but 113,000.
It's a story.
Oh, shit! I hope they ready for this. Now, I'm not even gonna have you answer that, but I want you to answer this right here for me. So, Big Friendly and your last story went to jail. So it seems to be Big Friendly's out of jail on this book. I don't care how the hell Big Friendly got out of jail, but Big Friendly's in jail, out of jail on this one. So Big Friendly, she's meeting Big Friendly at 6 p.m. And this messed my whole Christian mind up. And some of my churchgoers on here is getting ready to be fucked up as well on this one. So And on page 57 of your book, it says, I rushed to take a quick shower. I smoked the joint and listened to a Donny Hathaway song. What the hell is going on now? I'm lost. I'm lost. You smoke the J and you listen to Donny Hathaway. What the hell is going on now? I'm lost.
I'm setting the scene. I'm setting the scene up because now she could, huh?
Did you smoke a J?
I was setting
and
the
write
scene
this
up
story?
in the book.
Did you smoke a J and write that chapter? Come on now, be honest.
Again,
I
like you, brother.
That was crazy right there. I mean, I'm not gonna hold you much longer. I'm just trying to find my facts.
No, you got me, baby. I'm here. I'm here, man.
Because my viewers, I know it's time for questions in a second, but this definitely and engage me more, because I'm gonna read these phrases, and they're paraphrased, because you said on page 60 that I interviewed 100 women and men from ages 23 to 55, and skip a little part. Most of the men said, viewers, if you're listening, most of the men said that they felt they were lacking on the size of their penis, and they felt that they women wanted intercourse to last longer. 8 out of the 10 men surveyed felt that way, and most of the women felt that way as well, but there was a difference in the definition of physical size and lasting longer. Most women believe that when a man is physically around longer and attentive from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet, she feels wanted and needed. When all parts of her body are tended to, she feels more relaxed and the experience is more pleasurable. However, most men believe the size matters, and most women don't feel that way. All right, so I got that point. So here we go, viewers. This part that really, like, a lot of men don't understand, that 2 inches of penis into a woman's vagina is all she needs, especially with the addition of a slippery tongue. So does that come off of your last book that you put that in? 2
I'm very
inches of
creative.
dick makes it good.
Hey, I'm very creative, and yes, it goes back to Big Friendly, my other book. Yes.
So Big Friendly's out of jail now, and he's doing what he needs to do. Because I'm not gonna get to that part where Big Friendly has a 3-inch tongue and he does whatever else he does. So now, in your book, it also goes that the lady, I believe this is Josephine, that that she gets with Big Friendly, and that she only has 75,000. She doesn't have the whole thing, so it goes on, and she gets. I'm going to skip a few pages, and she gets what she needs to get to cure her aunt, and her aunt, start throwing up, and that means the cancer's coming out of her body.
Right.
So where did we get to all of that? Where did we get to all that? How did we get to that point? Like, the cancer's coming out of our body from the black sperm.
Well, you got to go back to the story before that, when Jezebel, who's a scientist, finds out that the black man's sperm, through research, can cure certain things. And then she meets Josephine, who's telling her, yes, it can cure cancer. She begs Josephine to give her the ingredients so she can cure her aunt who's dying of cancer. So eventually Josephine gives her the remedy. All of a sudden, she goes to see her aunt, see other people, and then she started curing all these different people who had cancer through the black man's sperm and the other ingredients that they had.
Okay, I got you. I mean, I'm not trying to get a whole book away. I have other questions, but man, you can talk about that personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to give you a whole book away. So at the end of the book, now I know it's 7 questions at the end of the book, but on page 107, it says, also, Marcus Dwayne is not dead. It was necessary to have him disappear too, so that he could write the story and the government won't be able to shut him down again. Are you on a run, brother?
No, man. Hell no.
I'm just saying, you talking about being shut down again. I'm like, are you on a brother? You know, because we had a guy early in the group that started talking about the CIA files and all type of
Right,
shit.
right,
I'm like,
right,
hold on, like, what is going on right now? You know, I'm just saying, I don't want
right.
you on camera if you're on the run or anything like that.
No, no, no. The fortunate thing about me is that I don't have a criminal record. I only have 3 tickets in my whole life. Uh, so I'm just a solid brother. I've only been married once. So I'm
Okay,
not a player. I'm not out here, hoeing or doing anything like that. I'm just a solid brother. Just know that God got a purpose for me. And I understand my purpose was writing. And the only reason I want to say this to a lot of people, the first question I used to get when I used to write was like, how did you become a writer? What made you want to write? Well, most people don't really know, I didn't learn how to read and write till I was 20.
okay,
I was illiterate. I didn't learn. So once I became 20 and I got into Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, I took the steps of becoming a reader. I had to learn how to read. And once I learned how to read, I was taught how to write things down, and I just became a storyteller in the process of doing it. So I write every day because I can't stop writing. I die if I write, because the lady told me when I tried to quit school, because I was in development program that Grambling had to help out inner inner, inner city school students.
okay, okay,
What they did, I was brought to Grambling from Detroit, Michigan. I was in this program. Nobody even knew this. I was in this program, and they taught me how to read and taught me how to write. And the lady taught me how to create a story out of words. I just couldn't stop. But I quit. She said, you know what? You're going to die. You need to leave. You're going to leave here this room, or you're about to die. I said, why? She said, because you're illiterate. She said, because you're illiterate, that means you're going to become a slave. They're going to write something up and you're going to believe in what they say because you can't read and write. And because I
okay,
couldn't read and write, I just went back and said, I had to learn. I got to figure this out. And once I learned how to read and write, I just couldn't stop. And I just say, you know what? I create a story out any words. So that's the reason I love words. And I say, man, I got to create this, create that. So it's a passion for me just to create the story, or create a thought-provoking idea. I write about things that the people think about but never done, but that's just my style of writing. And the good news about it, my engineer that works with me, he couldn't believe, because he got all the material. He's like, you wrote 32 books. The world don't even know who you are. I said, yeah,
hold on, hold on,
but
hold
now
on.
they
So
are.
now that threw me off right there, because you just said early in the interview
Okay,
that it was 15. Now it's 30. Now it's 30, 15 to 32.
no. Let me go backwards a little bit.
I'm
I
not the
have
greatest at math at all, but I know 15
four.
to 32 damn sure ain't jump
Let
through.
me let me see here. I have 4 published works
Okay, yeah, four
out
published
there.
works.
You can go buy 4
So
published works. But I've been
where's the other
writing.
20 books?
I have been writing for 25 years. I mean, the 25 years I write, I'm probably write a story tonight. That don't mean I'm going to publish it, because I have a lot of stuff in my library. I have a lot of stuff that I've been writing on for years. I just write because it's a passion, because I feel if I don't write something, I die. So it's a passion.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, my engineer looked at me. He said, man, how many stories are like this do you have? I said,
So I'm just saying, I'm just looking at
about
published
30 to
works.
40. I don't know.
I'm just looking at published works. Now, I mean, I understand, everybody write every day. If you're a journalist, you write what you write. Okay, you got 4 published works because you said 15 at the beginning,
Yeah.
and now you went to 32. Now you're back to 4.
I said,
I ain't the
I
greatest.
said, I have 50. I said, I have about 15 that has not been published.
I thought you
That
had
mean I can
15
go to my
books at the
floppy.
beginning.
I can go to,
I
no,
thought
I
you had
have
15
close
books at
to
the beginning.
30, 33, close to 40. I have a
That
lot of
just
books that I've written.
that
Hmm?
just doubled. That just doubled by time me and you were
I didn't hear
talking.
you.
I said that doubled by time. That doubled during the time me and you were talking. You said 15 to 32. That doubled. Like I got these damn
Let me
glasses
just put
on,
it this
but
way, make it easy. Let me
okay,
make it easy and simple. I have
got you.
4 published works.
Okay, full
You can go
published
online and
works.
see them. I have written 33 to 38 books that are at least 100 pages or more that's in the closet. I ain't put out yet. So the story came when I said, my engineer said, how many books are like this have you written? I said anywhere from 30 to 40. I got a lot of stuff that's in my library that I have not pulled out yet. And so the
Okay,
goal
so
was to introduce the mar-
no.
is to
I'm letting
introduce
you
the
go,
market
but
with something.
go ahead. No, I'm letting you go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay,
brother. Go
okay.
ahead.
So the goal is to introduce the market with a fresh book called The Black Sperm. Reintroduce
Okay.
the people back to my last 4 books. The other materials that I have been working on for many years, I have enough material in the library that I can put out another book every 2 or 3 months. I have enough material stored that I can put out that I've written.
Okay. Got you. We got about 5 minutes left. My people that's watching, do you have any questions for Mr. Marcus Dwayne? There are questions in the comments. Put your questions in the comments section if you have any questions. So, so where can we find these 4 books that have been published? Where can we find them at?
Okay, you
I
can go
have
to the
black sperm.
website.
I have black sperm, so I don't need that.
Right.
I have black sperm right here.
You can
Website.
actually
What's
go
your
to
website? Where's your website? Where can we find you at, Mr. Dwayne?
https:// theblacksperm.com.
And that's where we can
That's
find
it.
all the books.
Theblacksperm.com.
And we can find all the books at.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I want to take one of your one of your quotes out your book and say, hey, check this out. So if I get a lady and we in here rendezvousing, we having fun, we doing whatever we about to do,
Yeah.
and I want to
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
her she want to make her skin be clear and want to make her hair, I should just come on her face. That the black sperm is going to do it. It's going to keep her young and healthy.
Well, here's what
I'm just
I would
saying.
say. Here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. This is just my opinion. This is my new growth of me. We all, as brothers, need to find a way to make love to one without taking their clothes off. Find a way to make a love to a woman without taking her clothes off.
Okay.
If we can do that, all the other stuff would come easy. All that other stuff don't matter. If you can find a way to make love to a woman without taking her clothes off at all, that is the ultimate pinnacle, the mark we should all try to come to. She need to walk around like, oh, I feel him. She has to feel you. So if you can make love to her without taking any clothes off, then you to be the king. All the other stuff doesn't even matter.
So once I make love to her with her clothes on, so when she take her clothes off, I should be able to shoot the black sperm anywhere I please.
That's heaven. Let me go backwards. If you can learn, the word is learn how to make love to a woman without taking her clothes off. That means there's a lot of stuff you can do without doing that. You can make love making much longer than to say, I got to take the clothes off. No, you don't have to. So the kicker is how to make love to the woman without taking her clothes off. And become a master at that. You become a master at that. That's what kings are. Kings, when a real king walk down the street, a woman knows like, oh, that's a king. She feels it. Like, oh my God, he's different. That's a king. But
she feels his aura. Okay.
About this, that, and that. No, I don't know. I'm from an old school spirit. My spirit is always like, again, I've been married one time, 31 years. Never, ever, ever went on a date. I never would date a woman. I never would date no woman now. I will court a lady. It's a difference. A lot of times we want to go, forget a date. Learn how to court a woman.
Date.
If you can court her.
Well, you got to break that down. You got to break that down for me and my viewers. We got a couple minutes left between dating and courting. Dating and courting. Break it down, brother. Break it down then.
Okay. Okay, the old school. Okay, let's look at it real easy. Right now, over the last 10 years, everybody, I gotta go on a date, go on a date. No, if you go back to the 30s, 40s, and 50s, Black men would meet a lady through some other source, and then they would say, you know what, I got to get to know her, but I have to court her. A woman can't court a man has to court a woman. So when he courts her, he's showing her how good of a man he could be if we can go to the next level, which hopefully to marry her. But the dating part is, I don't agree with dating. I don't think that I like you, like me, let's date. The date is saying, if this date don't go good, you're not gonna get another one. You're doing things differently, in which I'm trying to go to the old spirit way, which is going back to courting. If you can court a woman, then that's when you learn how to make love to her without taking her clothes off. That's just my opinion.
All right,
I'm writing another book called How to Make Love to a Woman Without Taking Her Clothes Off.
Okay, but I got a question to ask. This is a personal question of mine. I didn't read the book, and and I know my viewers probably, once they read the book, they're going to say the same thing. So Big Friendly needs to get his balls sucked. He need to get his balls sucked for 5 minutes for this 75,000. What the hell? Like, listen, I mean, me personally, just getting my balls sucked for 75,000 for 5 minutes. Whatever hell Big Friendly did for 5 minutes, that is absurd. Like, that is crazy right there. 75,000 sucking Big Friendly's balls. That is crazy.
He was unique. He was a unique character, though. I developed him as a unique character. He had the potent sperm. He was well known in the industry about having the best sperm in the world. And so I had to make his character. Like, if the woman wanted to get the sperm, he didn't want to have sex with no women. He says, if you just do these certain things to me, I can give you all the sperm you want. Yeah.
But she didn't put the whole penis in her mouth. She just sucked his balls and 75,000. That is fucking crazy to me. But you know what?
It's the market. Yes.
It is the market. And I definitely enjoyed this conversation with you. You know, Marcus, this is definitely enlightening, because I had questions. I got more questions for the book, but man, you could talk about that personally, because I don't want to get a whole book away.
I'm in, man.
I don't want to get a whole book away, and definitely I need, let my viewers know where they can find these books at one more time.
https://theblacksperm.com, theblacksperm.com.
All right. We done chopped it up for over an hour and 20 minutes with prolific author of The Black Sperm, Marcus Dwayne. This has been another episode of Amsterdam Talk. I will see you Tuesday on the new episode of House Hunters on Tuesday. This will be interesting next Tuesday, where a family went to go buy a house, but it didn't work out. They broke up. So we'll be on House Hunters on Tuesday. Marcus Dwayne, thank you for coming through and sharing your
Thank you very much.
Words.
Appreciate you. Thank you. All right.
It's no problem, brother. Anytime, once you write your book, I need, send me a copy of How That Thing Was Eat Right, or I forgot the title of it. Always a pleasure, man. It is a pleasure.
All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
And remember, this is my house, but you always welcome. This is my house, but you always welcome.
Okay, tomorrow.
I got you. I'll be here. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Rod, tell us what's on tomorrow.
All right.
Tomorrow. What the hell is tomorrow? Welcome back to the Velvet Room. The Velvet Room, the women's chat, is tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. on the HBCUL network. And I don't think we have anything else this week, but tomorrow will be the women's chat. Myself, super producer Ava. This is Amsterdam Talk with Marcus Dwayne. We out of here. I'll see you next